Welcome, everybody. We're just going to give it a minute for everybody to get connected and get settled, and we should get going in just a second. Okay, well, hello and welcome to Scam Chat Wednesdays 2025. My name is Strat Maloma with the AARP California State Office, where I also serve as the lead for the AARP California Fraud Watch Network, which is a free fraud prevention and education resource that's available to anyone. Our network is all about helping communities spot and avoid frauds and scams through education, resources, advocacy, and events like the one that we're hosting today. So thank you very much for joining us for the first conversation in the series of weekly interactive fraud prevention and education conversations that we're co-hosting throughout August with our friends at the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation. I hope you'll help us make these conversations an interactive one by sharing your comments, your experiences, and by asking your questions. And as always, we've set aside time at the end of today's conversation to answer those questions. All right. So today we're going to be talking about tech support related scams. I'm going to ask somebody to mute themselves. We're getting a lot of feedback. Thank you very much. As I was saying, today we're going to be talking about tech support related scams. How do they work? How can we stay protected? How can we spot them, etc. But before we do that, let me share a few housekeeping items to help us have a really great and informative conversation. So for audio purposes, please, we ask that you keep
Strat, I'm sorry, you accidentally got muted. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay, can everybody hear me now?
Yes, sorry about
Thank
that.
you. Not a problem, not a problem. Thanks for catching that. Let me just start off with the housekeeping items to help us really have a great conversation. So we ask that you please, for audio purposes, keep yourselves on mute until you're invited to unmute yourself. To ask questions, simply type your questions in our chat feature, and during our Q&A session, we'll invite you to come on live and ask your questions. If you're not comfortable coming on live, we'll be happy to ask your question for you. Lastly, today you're going to hear from speakers from the AARP Fraud Watch Network, as well as the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation. Please note, however, that the opinions expressed by our speakers in their presentations are solely theirs and may not necessarily represent the views of their agencies. What we're sharing here today is for information purposes only. So, folks, here's the situation. Tech support scams are widespread and are increasingly becoming more so of a sophisticated form of fraud in which individuals, scammers pose as tech support agents, and what their goal is really to try and get us to either give up money or to get access into our devices by posing as tech support individuals. And these scams can take a variety of forms. They can include phantom hacking, pop-up unsolicited pop-up emails, or pop-up on your phones, on your computers. They can include requests for remote access, payment demands, and so much more. So we're going to meet some folks who will help us understand this. So my first guest that it's a pleasure for me to welcome is Sally Westlake with the Department of Financial Protection and Innovation. And just a little bit about Sally for me to share. She's an outreach specialist with the DFPI. She provides presentations throughout the state on recognizing the warning signs of financial frauds and scams. She also provides tools to help people prevent falling victims to fraud, and she's responsible for coordinating outreach programs, developing partnerships with community-based organizations, and educating the most vulnerable in our communities. She has a particular focus on promoting financial literacy, as well as making us aware of the risks of financial risks in the marketplace. Sally, welcome.
Thank you, Strat.
Great.
Excited to be here.
Thank you very much for being with us. Another year of us talking Scam Chat Wednesdays and providing some great information to our audience on staying protected from frauds and scams. Before we get into it, Sally, I have a number of questions for you, and then we'll hear from Mark, and then we'll go to some of our audience questions. So, can you tell us who the DFPI is and what work is it that they do?
Sure. So we are a state agency. We're a consumer protection agency, and we regulate, license, and oversee financial institutions, products, and professionals. So our central purpose is maintaining a fair, healthy, and trusted financial services marketplace for all Californians. We accomplish our mission through regulation and enforcement for a variety of financial services, products, and professionals, and you can get more information about that on our website. We provide presentations throughout California to help protect consumers so that we can help prevent them from falling prey to frauds and scams. And you can get more information about the department by visiting us at www.dfpi.ca.gov/consumers.
Thank you very much, Sally. Always great for folks to know the different agencies that are out there that folks can turn to when it comes to looking for help with frauds and scams. So we're talking tech support scams. Sally, can you walk us through what a tech support scam is, how it works?
Sure. So tech support scams involve fraudsters who pose as representatives of legitimate technology companies, can be like Microsoft, Apple, or even antivirus software providers like Norton, and to trick individuals into believing that their devices have serious problems. Now, scammers may reach out through unsolicited phone calls, emails, text messages, or pop-up messages on your computer. Now, tech support pop-up ads sometimes come with sound, making it very annoying, and you can't seem to close it out. It makes it look like there really is something wrong with your computer, and scammers, remember, are very good at what they do, and they rely on our fear of maybe not being tech savvy, and that maybe we did something wrong or we're about to do something wrong if we don't call that number right away. They also create a sense of urgency and panic that if you don't call right now, the problem is going to get worse. They may also claim to have detected viruses, malware, or other critical issues with your computer or your device, and sometimes using urgent or even threatening language to create a sense of panic. If you get a pop-up message to call tech support, ignore it. Now, some pop-up messages about computer issues may be legitimate, but they don't have a callback number, and you definitely don't want to click on any links that appear in pop-up messages warning you of a computer problem. Now, if you're worried about a virus or other threat, call your security software company directly using the phone number on its website, maybe the sales receipt or even product packaging, or even consult a trusted security professional. If you can't close that pop-up ad, just shut down the computer. Close it up, pull the plug. And another way is that they're reaching out is by calling you or even texting you. Now they can use spoof caller ID to display a legitimate company's name. Once they get you on the phone, they know exactly what to say to keep you on the phone and to get you to commit to buying their service and handing over maybe your bank account numbers, your credit card numbers. So do not engage and just hang up that phone call. Now, please remember, legitimate tech companies will not call you on the phone out of the blue to tell you that there is a problem.
Thank you, Sally. And that is so true. It's a great point that you make. You know, across all scams, scammers tend to always try and use fear and urgency to get you to act. So great point for sharing that. And as you can see, the image shared here, this is kind of something that we typically see on our computers when it comes to tech support scams. So tell us, Sally, who are some of these bad actors that are committing these types of tech support scams?
Well, let's take a look at the next slide. Now, what you're looking at here is a fraudulent call center. a lot of these scams are perpetrated by criminal entities, enterprises, organizations, often in different countries, out of US jurisdiction. So you have to keep in mind that it isn't just a small US company that we can go after, that law enforcement can pursue after a scam's been perpetrated, but that it can be these large organizations that's going to be very hard to detect. So please be careful when you get these tech support scam calls, emails, or pop-up ads.
Wonderful. And are you seeing any trends or tactics other than fear and urgency that scammers are using with these different types of schemes that make it harder for us to know whether this is whether this is something genuine or whether this is a scam?
Sure. So using AI technology, artificial intelligence technology, the scammers can now create very realistic looking pop-up ads. Again, using logos that we're very familiar with. And again, they can spoof caller ID to make it look like it's coming from a trusted company. So remember, don't call the number on a pop-up ad. Don't click on any links. But if you think there really could be an issue, then call the software or security company directly by using the phone number on their website. Trust your instincts. If something doesn't seem right, it probably isn't. And you should really go see a trusted professional or maybe a family member and ask for help.
Thank you. And what about, can you talk a little bit about red flags uh, that you may think is good for us to know that we are experiencing maybe a tech support scam?
Sure. There's things that you can do like to protect yourself. Number one, never trust unsolicited contact. Legitimate tech companies will not contact you unexpectedly about problems with your devices. If you receive such contact, again, hang up, close the message immediately. Number two, be wary of pop-ups and alarming messages. Fake warnings and alerts are a common tactic. Don't click on the links in suspicious pop-ups or download anything that they suggest. Number three, don't grant remote access to unknown individuals. Let's take a look at the next slide. There we go, and that's what it looks like. Don't grant remote access to unknown individuals. Only allow remote access if you initiated the contact and are certain of the legitimacy of the support provider. Number four, use reputable security software. Keep your operating system, antivirus, and other security software updated to protect against malware. And number five, verify before taking action. If you're concerned about an issue, contact the company directly through their official website or customer support channels that you find independently.
Great advice and great tips. Thank you. But if you do find yourself having fallen for a tech support scam, or if the scammer has been successful in accessing your device, what do you recommend folks do?
If they've been, I'm sorry, did you say what steps can someone take immediately?
Yes, if they do find themselves a victim of a tech support scam.
Okay, so yeah, if you've been targeted or scammed, number one, disconnect and secure. If you've been talking to a scammer or given them remote access, disconnect from the internet and run a full security scan on your computer. Number two, change your passwords. Change all your passwords, especially for financial accounts or those that you shared with the scammer. And number three, report the scam. You can report tech support scams to the Federal Trade Commission at reportfraud.ftc.gov. You can also report scams to Microsoft and their support website. And for serious incidents, consider reporting it also to your local law enforcement or the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center as well. Now, by staying informed and taking preventive measures, you can protect yourself and your devices from these scams, from these type of scams?
Thank you, Sally. And more particular with the DFPI, are there ways that the DFPI supports those who may have become a target of a tech support scams? Are there resources or partnerships that can help in the recovery?
Sure. So by reporting a tech support scam to the DFPI, we can investigate it. And in the best case scenario with our law enforcement partners, we can sometimes help victims recover funds or maybe even get restitution. However, in most cases, we can better identify the tech support scam and inform the community, our partners, and the general public to protect them from it. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of resources or partnerships that help consumers recover from tech support scams. But again, you can go to ftc.gov for more information and articles on how to spot and avoid tech support scams. But like any other scam, a victim should report this scam and will need to be much more vigilant on their credit reports, checking their financial accounts and online activity. Because once you've been a victim, you can rest assured that you will be contacted again because these scammers will most likely sell your information.
Sally, thank you very much. That's been a lot of great advice and great answers to questions, things that folks can do to stay protected. It's now my pleasure to welcome my second guest for today's conversation, Mark Featherhoff with the AARP Fraud Watch Network. Sally is going to stick around to answer your questions after we have a few. We talk to Mark a little bit and hear what he has to say. Let me share a little bit about Mark. Mark is with the AARP Fraud Watch Network. He serves as a senior advisor with the AARP Fraud Watch Network. He also has worked on education and outreach to older adults for over 15 years. Mark currently works with a crew of dedicated volunteers to address thousands of inquiries that they receive each month about fraud, scams, and financial exploitation as part of the work that he does with the AARP Fraud Watch Network Helpline. Welcome, Mark. Always a pleasure to have you on these types of calls.
Thanks for having me, Strat.
Excellent. Mark, I got a couple of questions for you before we go to our audience for their questions. Can you tell us a little bit about the psychology? What type of psychology that scammers use to do these tech support scams? Can you talk a little bit about that and how they used to build trust with their targets and why it's so effective?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And I will say, before I go down the psychology part, when I was looking at different reports that have come in from California into the AARP Fraud Watch Network helpline so far this year, looking at the reports from California specifically, tech support scams are the fourth most common type of scam that are being reported from California when in terms of victims. And so it's pretty common. The only scams above that we're hearing from California are identity theft, imposter business scams, and online dating or romance scams. So the fourth most common, again, that we're seeing is tech support scams. So this is very prevalent. And when I'm talking about those numbers, I'm talking about victims, people who've lost money or given personal information as part of one of these scams. I will say scammers, use a variety of different tactics as part of these scams. One of the tactics they use the most is fear. They're trying to convince you that you're having a problem and they want you to help, and they want to help you fix it. But at the same time, when they're giving you that kind of fear injection, what they're also trying to do is convince you that they can help you and that they most likely are trying to build some type of rapport. So you're then able to trust them a little bit more, maybe with giving them remote access to your computer, that type of a thing. I will tell you that I have heard of a lot of situations with regard to tech support scams where the victim has actually where it's almost turned into like a relationship type of scam because they might be contacting them on a daily basis, again, saying that they can help them with different situations they're involved with. At the end of the day, a lot of scammers, their goal is to build that rapport and build that relationship so they can get your trust to give them maybe personal or financial information, or to allow them onto your computer. And so again, these scams can be very, very tricky. I will say that so many of the scams that we're hearing about on the Fraud Watch Network helpline have some element of this tech support scam, again, where the scammer is trying to access your computer remotely. I'm really glad Sally brought up that example of, again, that scammer asking for access to your device remotely. But I will say it's really important that we're understanding that this type of a scam can happen on any of your devices. And so again, when we're thinking about the different devices that have a browser where this could happen, we're thinking about our laptops, our home computers, but we're also thinking about our tablets and our smartphones. Again, anything that has a browser has the potential to be a part of a tech support scam. And it's really important that we're not allowing unsolicited access to any bad guys who are requesting it from us, or anyone who we don't know.
Thank you, Mark, for sharing that, and also just highlighting the type of frauds and scams which we are seeing prominently in our area. Smartphone devices, they have access to the web, to Wi-Fi, etc. Make it so much easier for scammers to reach us. So it becomes more important for us to stay vigilant and protected. So let me ask: are there particular times of the years that digital types of fraud or become more prevalent or become more common?
There are, obviously different types of seasonal scams. We think about different types of scams during the holidays and different types of scams, different types of year. I will say this is one of those scams that kind of happens all the time. And again, scammers are trying to find different tactics to get onto your computer in different ways. But I will tell you, the evolution of this scam has been fairly consistent and much more aggressive. I started doing this type of work around fraud about 10 years ago. And when that scam was happening then, it was essentially all the perpetrators of this crime were just saying they're with Microsoft. They want to get on your computer, and they're going to help fix it. They're going to charge you $300 or $400 to do that type of fix that's probably not necessary. And then they're going to go away and just not really do anything. And so that was kind of the scam at this point. The scam now, again, Sally was describing it too. The scam now has really evolved much more into a situation where scammers want to gain access to your computer. And once they gain access to your computer, they want to gain access to any of your financial accounts that are possible, or any financial information that might be on your computer, such as tax returns, that type of a thing. And so, again, when we talk to people on the helpline, it's not for this type of a scam. It's not typically, though, I lost $300 or $400 as part of the scam for a service that wasn't really rendered to me. It's really more of the my bank account was just drained, so I lost $30,000. And so this is a super aggressive scam that, again, we have to be really, really vigilant of, especially with making sure we're not allowing access to any unsolicited people onto our devices. Yes, I know this is a way that legitimate tech support companies do work sometimes, but if you have any doubt in your mind, don't go ahead and allow that access to anyone trying to get on your computer remotely. And sorry, Strat, I know that was a roundabout way of saying it's not necessarily a seasonal scam, but it's my way of saying that this scam has evolved in a serious way and will probably continue to evolve in an even greater fashion and in even more aggressive fashion.
Thank you. And I think that's spot on with the going that way to answer the question. Thank you. Really appreciate that. So Mark, what resources does the AARP Fraud Watch Network have that can help us verify whether what we're experiencing is a tech support scam or it's something legitimate?
Yeah, the AARP website is chock full of resources with regards to all different types of scams, including this one, again, and it includes the different variations of this one too. So if you go to aarp.org/fraudwatch network, you're going to find a ton of resources on this scam and every other type of scam. And so I highly recommend you check that out if you're trying to verify if something is a scam or not. At the same time, too, we have a helpline. And so if you've had a situation where you have maybe been victimized by this scam, or you're not sure about what the contact is, we would love to have that conversation with you to help you kind of figure out if it is if it is a scam that you are dealing with. I'll give you the number, and I know Strat has a slide at the end of this presentation that has all the phone numbers and all the websites on there. But the number for our helpline is 877-908-3360. Again, it's 908-3360. We have some amazing volunteers all around the country who are helping victims out with their different types of situations. We even have some wonderful volunteers right there in California. And so again, thanks for all the work that you all do in helping out with this. But just know too that resource is available to you. It's free. You don't have to be an AARP member. You don't have to be over 50 to call the helpline at all. We get calls from people of all ages asking questions about all different types of scams.
Thank you, Mark. And just also let our audience know, please, if you do have a question for our guests, simply just post them in chat, and in a minute we'll be coming to your questions, and Mark as well as Sally will be happy to answer those questions. So Mark, technology can often be an intimidating thing, sometimes for everybody, young as well as older adults. Can you talk a little bit about some of the things that that can be done to help adults who might feel a little bit challenged with technology, to feel safe using the technology and not getting scammed?
Yeah, no, and first of all, Strat, I think it's a great thing that you're doing these scam chats. So again, hopefully this is making people feel a little bit more comfortable about identifying the different types of scams that are out there. And so kudos to you for doing that, and kudos to everyone for showing up. I see there's 160 people on here today. That's fantastic. Share this information with your friends and family too, so they understand what types of things they need to be looking for with regards to these scams. I will say that, there's a lot of different programs, either from AARP and local community organizations, that help people with different types of technology issues. I will say too, there's some really great resources in terms of friends, grandkids, sons, daughters, whatever it may be, who are kind of growing up with this type of technology too. So don't be scared to ask them to help navigate some of the technology questions that you have. It's better than waiting for that unsolicited phone call from the scammer who's, again, trying to take all your money, or it's better than waiting for a pop-up. I will say one of the things that I hear about a lot on the helpline too is folks, I think, sometimes are scared to update their devices because of the pop-ups that they see on the screens with regards to these types of scams. And so understand too that sometimes a restart of your computer or device is going to initiate an update. And so those updates are going to help keep some of those scams from coming in. And when I'm saying that, I'm also talking about turn off your phone every once in a while too. So you can update any types of things that might need to be updated. Don't be scared about every pop-up that comes on your phone or device, because again, some of them are legitimate. Know what they look like. And know the times that you need to go ahead and do those updates on your iPhone or your Android or your tablet or your computer. Again, so some of these scams might be stopped dead in their tracks before they even get to you.
Thank you. That's great advice. The fact that whether it's our tablets, our smartphones, we always get these updates. I completely agree. I think we get so many of them, and that's really just the companies trying to make sure we keep safe and they protect us from scammers, patches, etc. But I know it does become an issue where folks are a little bit uncertain as we put out all this education. Don't just click on any links because you don't know where they're from. So thank you for sharing that. Okay.
Scott, one other thing I wanted to mention, if it's okay.
Sure.
I will say that one of the other ways that people are getting involved in these scams, and they're doing so because they're going online and doing a quick maybe Google search or search on their device for for some type of help with their computer or device. And one of the problems is that scammers are also creating fake websites online to make it look like they are a legitimate tech support entity. And so again, when you are searching online for legitimate tech support, if you don't have someone to ask and you're not comfortable asking a family or friend, that type of a thing, and you don't want to go to one of the companies we're familiar with, like a computer store that we're familiar with, to do those checks, I would say be really, really cautious of the searches that you're doing online with regards to any type of tech support too. Again, these bad guys know that that people are searching for support online, and they might just call the first number that shows up on their screen. And so do a little bit of extra research about any entity that you're asking for support from online.
Wonderful. Always verify, right? So before I go to come to the audience questions, Mark, let me ask you this last question, then we'll take some questions from our audience. So if somebody has similar to how I asked Sally, if somebody has unfortunately been scammed by one of these tech support scams, are there three things that you think that you recommend these folks do immediately to reduce the amount of the impact of that sort of scam and to bring them back to whole?
Yeah, Sally mentioned some really great tips before. I'll reiterate some of them. I will say, honestly, people sometimes freak out about what they should be doing, especially if they get that red or black screen of death. In those situations, and you don't feel like you don't know what to do, unplug that device or turn it off. It's that simple disconnection from the scammer that I think is so critically important to keep them from accessing any more information on your device. In addition to that, I know Sally mentioned this, changing your passwords, I think is critically important. And also, if there's any opportunity for them to maybe access any of your financial accounts, whether it be a retirement account, your bank account, or a credit card account, or any of that information, definitely contact those institutions right away if you believe any of that information was compromised. I think that's really important. But in addition to that, if for instance, you do your taxes on your computer and you have a program like TurboTax that's on your desktop that's easy to view, again, doing things like checking your annual credit report, placing fraud alerts and credit freezes are a really good way to stop some of those things. And you can do that by going to identitytheft.gov, and there's information for all the credit reporting bureaus and annualcreditreport.com right there.
Wonderful, thanks. All right, let's take some audience questions. The first person I'd like to welcome to unmute and ask a question is Vicky Harvey. Vicky's wants to share a story about a phishing email I believe she shared. Hello, Vicky. Care to come on and share your experience? Ask your question. Vicky, you with us? All right. Vicky says this morning she received a false email from somebody that I know and thought it was real. I clicked on the attachment, but nothing opened. So I closed it and emailed the person who told me it was a phishing scam. So I've also heard of these types of experience where you get this email and it could come from somebody you think you know who might be in your contact, and they turn around and say, no, that wasn't for me, it was hacked or something like that. Have either of you heard anything like that? And what would a good solution be if you face a situation like that?
Yeah, so if you get an email that is out of the norm, an email from a friend that you were not expecting, you should never open an attachment. Okay, never open an attachment, click on any links, because it's during that process usually that you could be infecting your computer with malware. So what you want to do is you get an email, out of the norm, call your friend, talk to them in person, text them and say, hey, I just got this. Is this real? But again, never open an attachment. But now that you did, you want to look for, you want to run the security program, make sure that you don't have anything infected. You want to also change your passwords, especially on your email account. And maybe I'll also look at all your financial accounts as well to make sure that there hasn't been any kind of a breach.
Thank you, Sally. Mark, anything you want to add?
Yeah, no, everything Sally says is so right. I will just say that a couple of ways that this happens, unfortunately, and for me, it's happened to some of my friends as well. We'll leave a dormant email, and that dormant email will maybe be easily hacked. Again, using information through a data breach. And so again, the scammer gets a hold of that dormant email that someone's not using anymore, and then starts sending out information to all their friends, maybe asking for money or other personal information. In addition to that, we see different types of situations where there are people who might be spear phishing certain folks. And so they might change that email address by just a period or a number. that you might not notice. And so again, you think you're communicating with your friend. So be extra vigilant about the different types of tools you're using to communicate with your friends in these ways. And if it seems a little bit off, trust your gut in these situations. And again, do a little bit of extra research, maybe find a different way to contact your friend to see it was actually from them, or let them know, again, that someone might be using their information to contact their other friends so they can, again, warn the rest of their network that these types of messages might be coming out.
Thank you. Let's invite Barbara Davis, who has a question. I think this one is more particular for Sally on various digital vaults. Barbara, would you like to come on and elaborate or ask your question? Talk with our guests. Let's give Barbara a second. Barbara, are you still with us? Thank you.
Yeah, I'm here.
I'm here.
Welcome.
Yeah, there's a lot of promotions. Hi, thanks. There's a lot of promotions for digital vaults. Even AARP has one for $20 a year. But I'm still suspicious of that. It's, putting your whole mother load of
Okay. But we're having some
Password.
difficulties. We were having some
It's-
difficulties. You seem to be cutting out a little
That-
bit on my end.
passport numbers and driver's license numbers in one place. So I just really don't see how that is hack or security hack averse or, avoidant, because I've been hacked by my accounts at Target, Ticketmaster, etc. have all been hacked. Even my HR department.
Yeah, Barbara?
What gives?
Barbara,
Barbara?
unfortunately, we're having a really hard time hearing you. You seem to be cutting out a lot, but I'm assuming, I think we can sort of
Yes.
figure out the question
Yeah,
a
the
little bit.
the Zoom.
I have her question. Thank you, Barbara, for your question. I do see it in the chat, so thank you very much for that wonderful question. So, digital vaults, for the members of our audience who may not be familiar with it, it's basically a digital safe deposit box. Nothing is 100% secure and safe nowadays, especially in the digital world. And Barbara mentioned that she's been hacked, Ticketmaster, Target, AT&T. I have as well. It doesn't matter where you shop, whether you're shopping at Target or at Neiman Marcus. Most businesses at one point or another have been hacked, and a lot of our information already is out there in the dark web. So we can all try to do things to protect ourselves, our information, from landing in the laps and the hands of these scammers. And so if a digital vault makes sense to you, if you feel comfortable with it, and maybe if it's used frequently, but in trust planning, estate planning. So if you've been, maybe your attorney explained it to you and why it's useful, how it can be used by your family members, maybe it may be right for you. Don't sign up for something just because you saw an ad. Make sure you understand exactly what it is you're getting for your money, how it protects you, and what happens if it has been hacked, if there's been a breach. But being from a state agency, I cannot recommend one company over another. All I can recommend is that you do your research, make sure you understand what the benefit is to you, and that you get your money's worth.
Thank you, Sally. Mark, anything to add from the AARP Fraud Watch perspective?
Yeah, I love that question. I also think, again, I don't necessarily, like, as someone from AARP, we don't, though AARP has partnerships for its members to get them deals on certain types of products, it doesn't mean I necessarily recommend that product to someone personally. I would say, again, just like Sally said, do your research for any type of product that you're shopping for with regards to, a digital vault or any type of identity theft protection products that are out there as well. And people like LifeLock that people are familiar with, just so you know. There's a lot of different products out there. Understand what what the protections are, and what the benefits are of each of those if you're shopping for them. I will say again, just to echo what Sally's saying, we're living in a, imperfect world where scammers are constantly trying to hack into large databases to get information. And that's very frustrating. And a lot of the times too, again, the scammers are living in a world where they don't have regulations around, and we do have regulations around how we protect our information and how we have privacy. And so I think our best example of that too, about the system not being perfect, was that Equifax data breach that happened. I think it was what in 2017 or 2018, where 145 million people's information was part of that data breach. And so that in my mind, what that really means is we just have to start taking preventative measures to protect our identity, rather than wait for it to happen to us, because we all know that their information's out there in different types of ways. I was doing a presentation on identity theft a couple of weeks ago, and I was looking at all the data breaches that have gone on so far in 2025, and it's something in the effect of, I think, 17 trillion records. And so again, when Barbara, you're talking about the different types of things you've been involved with in data breaches, I know I've been involved in all of those too. And so again, we have to think in the back of our mind, we just have to start taking those preventative measures like placing credit freezes. So we put as many barriers in place as possible. And again, if having a digital vault is the best way you believe to manage your personal information and kind of the information moving forward, then I think that's a tool that I know works for a lot of people.
Absolutely. Monitoring our personal information and our credit has become so critical. And I know, we like to emphasize, not just for us, but also maybe the younger kids in our households too. Thank you both for sharing that. Speaking about hacking, let me invite Carl Freeman. He has an interesting question about hacking into appliances. Carl, are you on? You want to come on and just elaborate or ask your question? Hello, Carl. Let's give Carl a second. All right, we may not have Carl. Anyway, so here's Carl's question. He says, are people hacking into smart appliances as well, hearing that they're using it as a backdoor to smart houses, which, I think a few years ago we heard about nanny cams or Ring doorbells, those type of things being taken over by hackers. Any of you have any thoughts on that? Sally, Mark?
Mark, I'll pass this one on to you.
So I will say, Carl, I like that question. I'm not terribly familiar in terms of calls that we've received on our helpline. And again, we're taking about 100,000 calls a year on the Fraud Watch Network helpline. I've not heard of specific instances where appliances have been hacked. I will tell you again and reiterate, like I said before, that anything with the browser has the potential for some type of tech support related scam where someone can get in. So when I'm saying that, I'm thinking about unconventional things like our TVs too, smart TVs. And so again, be really, really careful about what you're clicking on, especially if you're using the functionality of your smart TV as a browser, just the same way that you would do with the tablet. But I haven't heard of instances of like washers and dryers and refrigerators being hacked, but I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know what they're going to do, try to make all my food spoil or stop it in the middle of the rinse load. But, I guess anything's possible.
Absolutely, absolutely. The age of AI. So I want to invite Donna Abate, Donna Johnson, to come on if you are still with us. If you want to unmute yourself and come on and ask your question. Donna, are you with us? Let's give Donna a second. Are you with us, Donna? All right. Let's go to, but hold on, before we do that, so here's what Donna's question was. If I get a scam text or a phone call, what's the best way to report it?
I'm sorry, say that again. If she gets a scam.
If I get a scam text or a phone call, how is the best way to report it?
Okay, the best way to report it, we personally recommend that you actually just delete the message, delete the text message, and delete the phone number as well. One thing we don't recommend sometimes is that you don't want to just hit the X button on the phone call that's coming through. that might say scam likely, spam risk, or even hang up on that call. Because on the other end, there's somebody that could potentially, learn that it was actually a good number that they rang up, that there was a live person on the other end that responded by hanging up on that phone call, or potentially even reporting it as spam. So then that you could actually open yourself up to getting more phone calls, more text messages. So the best thing that we'd like to recommend is just delete, delete, delete. Don't respond, don't engage. That's what I'm going to say about that one, Mark.
Yeah, I mean, not engaging is key. And I think at the same time, I will say that, I mean, I know personally, I'm getting so many scam text messages and calls that reporting every one, I might spend all day doing the reporting. When people ask me, well, when should I report? Especially when you get something that's a little bit trickier than you've seen before, something you've never heard of before, something you could legitimately think that, hey, my neighbor might have been the victim of that scam or something like that. That's a time when it's a good idea to just make that report, and you can do that. I know with your state agencies, you can do that through the Fraud Watch Network helpline, again, so we can get alerts out about it to other folks. But again, I mean, I think too, next time you buy a phone or next time you're, investigating phone service, be sure you're asking the phone companies and doing your research about each phone about how good they are about blocking some of these text messages that come in. I will say personally have 2 different phones. One of them pretty much gets rid of all of the text messages that are scams, and the other one gets rid of none. And so I think it's, again, important to be investigating these types of things and understand, again, that there are some services that might be trying to do more than others. And maybe it's a good idea to give those services our business rather than people, some of the services or funds that aren't doing very much in that department.
Thank you both very much. Great suggestions there. Definitely don't engage, but do report. Helps others and also helps law enforcement understand the situation. Leslie, I see you've had your hand up for a while. Please feel free to unmute yourself and come on and ask your question.
Yeah, I have 2 questions. Is the Alexa safe?
It looks like this device.
So we cannot state that one product is safe or it isn't safe. If you enjoy using Alexa and it's beneficial to you and you like all the things that it can provide for you, fantastic, use it. But what you want to do is make sure you understand the security settings. When and when maybe you don't want to have it on. Maybe you want to turn off the camera at certain points because there have been some issues and there have been reports and claims that they record, everything that's in your house that's going on, right? There have been claims. So you want to make sure you understand how it's used, use it properly, and make sure you understand the security settings, and that you set it up correctly when you start using it.
Great, good. Also, if you've been told that your name is on the dark web, what can you do?
Honestly, most of our information or parts of our information from everybody on this call is out there on the dark web. It's out there from all the numerous data breaches that we have all been a part of. And no matter how hard we try to protect our information, we cannot protect ourselves entirely. We don't live in a bubble, right? And so, okay, our information is out there in the dark web. When your information is actually sold and used to commit fraud, commit identity theft, open up new accounts, that's the only question that we don't know, is when our information is going to be used. So in the meantime, I'm going to do everything I can to protect myself and my assets, my hard-earned money, my retirement accounts, right? And so how do you do that? You look at every piece of mail, you shred all your information, you don't drop off mail in the blue mailbox after its last pickup, right? You delete any phishing type of emails, go to the source, verify the information, put a credit freeze on your credit report, check your accounts, change your passwords, have a long password for all of your financial accounts, especially have a family safe word or phrase. Those are steps that you can take to protect yourself and guard yourself. Currently, I don't know of any way that you can remove your information from the dark web once it's out there. Just like we can't remove some of our public information that is out there on the internet and the World Wide Web.
Wonderful, absolutely. And as Mark and Sally mentioned earlier, scammers are always trying to use psychological tactics of fear and urgency. So when they may tell you your information's on the dark web, which puts you at risk. I would also just say, the dark web is not accessible to anybody. And it also just means, we just have to be more vigilant about monitoring what happens with our credit and identity online. But it doesn't mean just because your name is out there that you're going to be a target of frauds and scams. So definitely just monitor your credit,
Thank you.
etc. Okay. Speaking of technology and all that, there's a Ebe. I hope I may have said your name correctly. He or she has a question now. Would AI also lead to fraudulent scammers? I guess the question is, how is AI helping scammers, commit their scams? Anybody want to talk a little bit about what we're seeing in terms of AI helping to advance scams?
Sure. One of the things, and I will tell you just straight off the bat too, so everyone's not totally freaked out, that with regards to calls we're getting on the FraudWatch Network helpline, we're not hearing a lot of examples where there's evidence that artificial intelligence has been being used, though we recognize that there are plenty of ways that AI might be supplementing the way that different scams work. And I'll say that one of the examples I've been using recently, and so like the ones that we have heard of, and I'm going to tell you these are few and far between, but are deep fakes of well-known celebrities who are often asking for some type of investment or donation to a charity. And again, they might use a video of a well-known celebrity as a recognizable voice that again might be asking for some type of personal donation to you. So if you see something like that, I would question it highly and assume that it's probably some type of deepfake scam. I will say one of the things that I think we should be watching out for that all of us might be accustomed to is when we receive messages from scammers in the past. One of the tactics that we use to help identify if it might be a scam, whether it be a phishing email or text message, that type of a thing, is incorrect grammar, bad spelling, different things like that. I think scammers are using artificial intelligence to clean some of that up. And I think that's something that we should be on the lookout for because it's not going to be as good of a telltale as it was in the past. And so I think watching out for that is really important too. I think a lot of scammers too could potentially be masking their voices if they're from somewhere where they have a very distinct accent. And so they're trying to sound maybe more American. So again, they're trying to, again, pull in people, victims who are American, or maybe they're trying to pull in British victims with a British accent. So watching out for those types of little details and not totally believing what they're saying just based upon the sound of their voice, and really listening to what they're saying more so for the content of what they're asking for. So they're asking for your login and password, regardless of what they sound like. That's something to be questioned, and it's probably most likely a scammer. But just watching out for some of those tactics we have watched out for in the past, I think, is really important.
Thank you, Mark.
Shad, if
Go
I
ahead,
can
Sally.
add to what Mark said, those are fantastic tips, Mark. Some of the things that we've seen when it comes to using AI and scams is that they can actually record your voice or your family member's voice to make it sound so like them that a mother couldn't tell it wasn't really their daughter. And they're calling from a phone, from an unrecognizable phone, saying, Mom, my car broke down. My battery died on my phone. I'm using, stranger's phone to ask you for help. So, can you send me money? I don't have my wallet. All those things, and your heart just sinks, right? It sounds exactly like your daughter. You know she was on the road today, and you're concerned, you're worried, and you want to send her money. It's like, how fast can I get you the money to where? So what you want to do is potentially consider, okay, there are types of fraud that actually mimic and can duplicate voices that that a mother can't tell. Ask them, say, oh, sweetheart, what is our family safe word or phrase? Right? If it is your daughter, they should be able to tell you. So create something like that for your family to help protect yourself. Know that AI is also being used to create videos in romance scams, right? They can put up, a movie star's face or anybody's face that really isn't them and have a FaceTime video chat with you. And you're thinking you're on the phone with John when it really is a scammer. So just know that they're using technology is great for us, but then at the same time, the scammers are using it as well.
Great point. Thank you both. Let's take this one last question from Jenny Orovino. I hope I've said your last name, your name correctly. Jenny, if you're still on with us,
Yes,
please
I am.
unmute yourself. You have a great question about what keeps folks engaged with scammers. Do you want to go ahead and ask your question and elaborate a little bit on?
I just felt like I was hypnotized when I was talking to this guy. Even though I suspected something was wrong, sort of felt like a hostage, like I couldn't get off, like I didn't know what to do. If I got off, it would make things worse. It was, even now I'm getting chills remembering it. This just happened 2 weeks ago. I was so humiliated and embarrassed and scared, and just so many emotions are involved in it. So
Jenny,
anyway, hard to understand sometimes how could I have let that happen?
well, Jenny, let me just say this to you. First of all, really sorry to hear what you went through, but also know that these folks are really dedicated. They spend their whole time figuring out new ways of targeting folks. So don't put so much blame on yourself. It's something that can happen to the best of us. But let's turn to Mark with the AARP Fraud Watch Network to sort of give us some sort of insight. Mark, what would you say how some of these things can happen?
Yeah, I mean, again, they're using so many different psychological tactics, like what we've been talking about today, the fear tactics, the urgency tactics, and you just don't know how much of it is true. And I think you can easily get sucked into the world that they're trying to create for you in a very easy way. Sometimes we hear examples of scammers who will be able to say the color of your house because they look up your address online, and they'll maybe be able to say the color of your car because, again, they look up your house online, they can see it on Google Maps. Everything sounds so plausible. They might have done a little bit of extra research on you to understand more and more about you too. And so those are the things that I think keep us kind of hooked in those situations, because you're like, I'm trying to mitigate any damages that are going on, even though I know this is a scammer. But at the same time, you're thinking, I can't do anything else, and I'm out of control in this situation. I think, again, one of the best things you can do, and I know, Jenny, it probably didn't feel like it at that time, but to the extent you can disengage, the quicker the better, and then kind of take everything into your hands afterwards. Process what just happened in that situation and say, well, what is it possible this person has of my information that I need to protect right now? Do I need to go back and change passwords on my accounts? Do I need to contact my bank to see if anything happened with regard to my bank? Do I need to clean my computer or have someone look at my device that might have been involved? And I think just starting to bring in that rational mind of thought after you kind of disengage with that person is really important. A very clear mind. But again, I know so many times, and especially with romance scams, relationship scams too, can be super tricky. Again, sometimes that person is giving you so much attention and building so much rapport with you that it's really hard to disengage. And at the end of the day, you have to take a step back and look at the situation, maybe verify what's going on with a friend or family member too, who has your best interest in mind. And again, figure out that time if this is legitimate or not, and if you need to disengage or not. And again, just always know that you can call the Fraud Watch Network helpline, and we're happy to chat with you about the situations and get you in a better spot.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mark. Mark and Sally, I could talk with you, I think, forever about sharing these information about how do we keep ourselves protected from fraud and scams. Unfortunately, we are out of time, and I do want to thank both Mark and Sally. Mark with the AARP Fraud Watch Network helpline, and then Sally with the California Department of Financial Protection and Innovation, for joining us today, answering our questions, and really sharing some great advice and resources. I also want to thank you for all the wonderful questions that get us to that give us an opportunity to provide helpful information to you, also for joining us. And I hope you'll join us for the rest of our series on fraud prevention and education. In the meantime, I do want to share a couple of resources that we have available through our Fraud Watch Network that you see on your screen. Following today's presentation, you'll also get an email, which will also include some of these great links and resources that you can turn to if ever you have questions about fraud prevention and education. So thank you very much. I also want to thank my colleague Marissa, who's helping things behind the scene, for helping us put all this together. And we look forward to having you join our conversation next week on identity theft with great speakers. So thanks very much, and goodbye, everybody.